All right, today we're going to talk specifically about an airboat package. And this specifically is really the more industrial side. This is going to be a 30-plus passenger tour boat. So what I want to cover is really what's a little bit different about this particular 582 and a little bit about our sales process. There's something that we call our discovery process that we kind of put our clients through to discover their specific decision-making criteria. So for these guys, we went through the discovery process, and ultimately they've been running some LS packages that just don't make enough power. The way I think he put it was they run it, constantly so hard its tongue is hanging out. Generally, they get maybe a half a season out of each engine before something goes wrong. Rod flies out of it, this or that. There was a lot of details we went through. So they chose to step up from 550 horsepower and roughly the same foot-pounds of torque to a big block package. And basically this, is 700 plus foot-pounds and 700 plus horsepower. So it's going to take him quite a bit elevated in the amount of power that they have on tap for carrying around these 30 passengers. So through the discovery process, knowing that they had an LS package, there was a couple of things that were definitely on their want list, very, very high up there. One was drive-by-wire. They wanted to stay with drive-by-wire. The other was coil on plugs. So those two things really mimic similar to the LS type platform. So that was one specific requirement. So you do see we've got the drive-by-wire, coil on plug application. And as I mentioned, it's a 582. We've done a bunch of these things. So, good 4340 crank, H-beam rods, forged pistons, our aluminum cylinder heads. It's a hydraulic roller package. It is a stud style rocker with a rocker bar on top. It does have our valve covers. It's also got the spring oiler plates. It has the piston oilers and full front dress. So very, very similar to every other combination. Aside from the drive-by-wire and coil on plug, the other specific requirement is they're going to use a crane hoist to drop this in the boat while it's in the water. Why does that matter? For many years now, we've been kind of working on different types of applications as far as wiring harnesses, mounting of ECU. Some of the problems that some of these guys run into with the production-based LSs is the ECU is mounted on the engine somewhere, which is nice because everything's compact, everything's on the engine. There's two things that kind of suck about that. One is the ECU is mounted obviously on the engine where there's a lot of moisture, there's a lot of temperature, there's a lot of vibrations, and number two, it just doesn't look good. It's really, really hard to make that look good. So what we did here was use a builder series harness. It was a unterminated harness, and we knew that we basically had from the front of the engine to where the seats are is where they wanted to mount the ECU in a dry box. So we're running a Holley Dominator, and we've got roughly 6 feet of harness from the cylinder head to the ECU. So it will run down underneath the cage and up underneath the seat. Everything is pre-wired. We've got even the stuff pre-wired to the starter to where they can literally drop this on, plug a couple of wires into the battery, and fire it up and take these passengers for a grand ride. All right, something else I want to point out too is you see there's two transducers mounted here, and they're more or less remote mounted. They're in just a simple Adele clamp, but it has number 4 line to both the oil pressure output of the block and on the fuel rail. And these sensors, so the fuel pressure is really for monitoring purposes. If we're doing remote tuning, that we can assure that we know that the fuel pressure is correct. The other one is for the oil pressure. Obviously, this is data that can be put on their gauges, but also we draw strategies within the ECU for if it gets over temperature or if it is to lose oil pressure or drop below a certain threshold, we can limit the throttle body opening. So we'll do a power reduction mode to save the engine. It's really kind of an insurance policy, and quite frankly, that's something that we offer as standard for every engine package. Obviously, you don't have to have it, but it is something that we do offer as a standard, and we highly encourage that guys use them. So another feature that we added to this one, just for really another bit of peace of mind and added insurance, is knock sensors. So we've taken the time to calibrate these, get a baseline, so that way we have one more stage of control over keeping these engines alive, just in case they were to get bad fuel or something of that nature. So knock sensor control, coil on plug, drive-by-wire, and also safety sensors and strategies in the ECU. So when you're ready to upgrade or elevate your airboating experience with more power, more reliability, and tremendous customer support, give us a call.